What's up, everybody? Welcome back into the Legal Hands to the Face show. We are now joined, like we are every week, by my man, Dr. Kris Radcliff. What's up, Doc? How you doing tonight?
Hey, buddy. How are you? It's great to see you.
I'm doing pretty good, man. I'm doing pretty good. We're hitting the bye week, 8-1,
Yeah,
best team in the NFL.
it's
And
awesome.
for those of you guys who are here watching who don't know Dr. Kris Radcliff, he joins us every week at 7:30. And I always love to throw this around. Harvard educated, Duke Medical School, used to work for the Philadelphia Eagles. I feel like I need to preface that with our man, Dr. Radcliff. Unfortunately, last week he was in the operating room and he wasn't going to miss the show. He tried to come, but that damn hospital Wi-Fi couldn't get him here.
Yeah.
Couldn't get him
We had
here.
a lot to talk about, too, with Jalen Hurts' knee last week and again this week.
Yeah, so let's start off with Jalen Hurts because clearly he's the biggest story. Last week, we talked a little bit about it. He's in that brace. The reports were that it was a bone bruise.
Yeah.
And the question I was actually asking you last week when we got cut off is how could a brace help a bone bruise? And if you thought that was what he was dealing with or if it could have been something else.
Yeah, so I think that it's likely that it's a bone bruise where the kneecap contacts the femur, because that location would be vulnerable to like an injury, a direct blow. Basically, if you hit the kneecap hard enough, you would push it back into the femur, and then you could certainly have a bone bruise, in particular on the femur. That's pretty common. In that case, the knee brace would essentially hold the kneecap in the proper position and would kind of keep it from moving out of the small groove that's on the front of the femur that defines where the kneecap lives. The front of our femurs are like a valley, like a V, and the kneecap is like sort of sits in that little valley in that groove. So that's what I think it is. The other possibilities are more ominous, honestly. You can have a bone bruise when you rupture your ACL. And I guess it's possible if you had a partial ACL injury, a partial injury to the anterior cruciate ligament, which normally keeps the tibia from sliding out too far in front of the femur, then so if you had a sprain of that, a small soft tissue injury to that, then you could also develop a bone bruise there. But those are usually more serious because there's a degree of instability that comes from that ACL being damaged. And so I would expect that he would be at least at some sort of limited weight bearing or something if that was the case. So I think it's a bone bruise where the femur attaches, where the femur and patella articulate. It's unfortunate because the injury this week of obviously one of the Cowboys striking him on the knee kind of would certainly aggravate that and would maybe make that more acutely painful. So hopefully with the bye week and we get some rest, he'll be good to go.
Doc, my heart sank when he got hit low there at the end of that first half because it looked like not only that he got hit on the knee, it looked like his leg almost hyperextended in a way that it's not supposed to. But thankfully, it looks like we dodged a bullet there. Did you see the same thing I saw where his leg kind of buckled the wrong way?
I did, yeah. And so that's what the cruciate ligaments hold, and that's what they do. The PCL, the posterior cruciate ligament, keeps the femur from going like kind of too far in that position, and as well as the ACL, and they kind of work in tandem. And so, yeah, I was very worried about that. I think that it's kind of a testament to the training and muscular, sort of strength these guys have because the muscles are also stabilizers of the knee. So, even when you reach the point where the ligaments are being stretched to their limit, if you have good muscle tone, you could still keep from having a knee dislocation. And luckily, we didn't see his knee like just totally dislocate out of socket. So yeah, I think it's good that he was able to continue to weight bear. It's good that he was able to continue to play. Obviously he was having some pain, but there's nothing to do for a bone bruise, surgically. You can't cut it out. You can't, sort of do any kind of repair on it. It's just gotta go away with time.
And when you say go away with time, assuming it's just a bone bruise, let's hope, what does it look like to get back to 100%? Is this something that's going to linger all season long, or will it get better quickly, hopefully?
So, but for that injury this Sunday, I would be pretty optimistic that with a little bit of rest and the bye week, that he could be, kind of back to almost 100% by the time we're playing Kansas City. I'm a little concerned that this certainly could have set us back a bit, this recent injury, because that area is already inflamed and probably somewhat weakened, and some of the bone is probably already kind of remodeling, and to strike it again while it's in that damaged, vulnerable state is I'm sure it looked excruciatingly painful, and it is there's a potential for this to linger, I think, through the rest of the season now.
So just switching to football again for 1 second from the medical stuff. So you say it looks so painful. This is what I love about Jalen Hurts, and this is what I said this morning on my Power Hour show, and I know everyone here watching agrees with me. He can barely get up after he takes that hit, limps into the locker room, is the last person out of the locker room coming out of the second half. And what does he do on the first 2 drives of the second half? He leads them on 2 touchdown drives, goes 6 of 7 for 84 yards, 2 touchdowns, throws a strike to Devontae Smith in the corner of the end zone for a 29-yard touchdown. This is why we are lucky that Jalen Hurts is our franchise quarterback, because like you said, Doc, he was obviously in a lot of pain. He was obviously not 100%. And those 2 drives right out of the half changed the entire complexion of that game. They go up 28-17, and Dallas was never able to recover. But
what did he say? He said he'd do anything for his city and his team.
That's right, man. Gave me
goosebumps. What does Nick Sirianni say? He's a warrior.
Gave me goosebumps.
True. He totally is.
He really is, man. I love Jalen Hurts. I say it every day. I really do. I love that guy. But now let's stay on the offensive side of the ball for a second and talk about another big injury from this Dallas game, and that was Dallas Goedert. Fractures his forearm is what's being reported. It was also reported today that he's going to get surgery as soon as today, potentially, but they're only expecting him to be out approximately 4 weeks. How's that possible?
So I guess it depends on the I don't know the specific type of fracture that he has, and there's obviously some subtlety in terms of if it's complex and broken into like a lot of small pieces, or if it's a simple fracture, meaning that the bone is just in 2 pieces. I would surmise from the recovery that they've told us that it likely is a simple fracture that some stabilization will allow for early weight bearing. Obviously, the upper extremities are really important for all these guys, particularly Dallas. What I would guess is that he probably broke his ulna, which is the bone along the outside of the forearm, because that bone, first, if it was closer to the wrist, I think they would have said he broke his wrist and not his forearm. And that bone in particular, you can put a rod down the bone, which stabilizes it and allows for some early weight bearing. So just from the recovery, because typically for something like this, you would think the recovery for a professional athlete would be, like probably at least 2 to 3 months. So I think the fact that they're going to let him start early weight bearing and potentially get him back early implies that they put a nail or a rod down the ulna, and that it was maybe an isolated ulna fracture, which would still hurt quite a bit, but would portend a much quicker recovery. You don't want to fracture around the joints if you can help it, because obviously there's cartilage that's even more delicate there.
Is that why there was discussion that they were going to send him for an MRI too, to see the extent of the damage there?
Yeah. Because you'd want to look at the rest of the ligaments in the forearm and make sure that, we think about these broken bones, but obviously whenever there's enough energy to go through to break a bone, all the soft tissues and ligaments also get beaten up. And so the MRI is prudent to make sure that there's not some other subtle ligament injury that would also have to be addressed. And I think you could, again, infer from the recovery timeline that there probably is not a bad ligament injury. It's just a broken bone, and luckily, the bone will heal.
Yeah, I thought that was good news because when I was watching the game and you saw how he instantly started holding that arm, I was thinking it could have been a
Yep.
season-ending injury. So 4 weeks, it'll be tough. It'll hurt this Eagles team, but a lot better than being out for the year.
Yeah.
So talking about Cam Jurgens for a second, they activated his 21-day practice window. A lot of people were hopeful he was going to play on Sunday. Eagles played it safe. Turns out to be the right move. They win the game, gives Jurgens now 2 weeks to recover. You think he'll be fine coming out of the bye against the Kansas City Chiefs?
Yeah, I do. I think that maybe, I certainly underestimated, and it just wasn't clear how serious this foot injury was. It obviously was pretty serious to take him out for this long. Even in practice, he was a limited participant before so he was able to weight bear on it. He was able to walk on it, and he was limited. Um, I bet it was a judgment call, and like you said, it was just them being prudent, keeping him out to let him recover so that he'd be good to go for the rest of the season. I'm optimistic that we'll see him back on the field, when they suit up next.
And another foot injury in the game yesterday was Nakobe Dean. Now, he battled a foot injury early in the season, went on IR for 4 weeks. Have you heard anything? Is it the same foot? Is it the other foot? Is it an aggravation of his pre-existing injury, or we still don't know?
We still don't know. I did some research and kind of reached out, but they're being tight-lipped about it now. But yeah, it was unfortunate. He poor guy just can't get a break. Just got back and now he's out again. We'll have to see.
Yeah, but like we've said every week, we don't love that you come on and talk about injuries, but fortunately, these still seem like injuries where guys can battle back from. Outside of the Zach McPherson, Avonte Maddox injuries early on, a lot of these other injuries hopefully are just weekly injuries and not season-ending injuries. So, well, I appreciate you making time. Next week, we can't have any injuries to talk about, fortunately, because it's a bye week. So we'll see if the doc does, in fact, join us or not, because for once, we won't have injuries to talk about. It'll be good news. Well, hopefully we won't. Hopefully nobody gets hurt in practice, knock on wood. I don't want to jinx us here. Or on their bye week, God forbid. But everything's good, Doc? Everything is good in your world?
Going great, yeah. Thank you so much. This is awesome. Thank you so much.
We love having you, man.
The birds look good. The birds look really good yesterday.
Dude, 8-1, man. We will take it coming out of the Super Bowl hangover, quote unquote. We're in a good spot. We are in a good spot.
Halfway through. Yeah.
Yeah, we are in a good spot. Good. So
I still think we're going to have all, you make this point a lot. I think we're going to see still, with the exception of Avonte Maddox, at least most of our starters ready for the playoffs. Because overall, like you said, these are still soft tissue injuries that are hopefully recoverable quickly.
Yeah, and I would say, hey, don't jinx it, them making the playoffs. But after that win yesterday, and I'll let you run, after that win yesterday, the Eagles now have a greater than 99% chance of making the playoffs. Yeah. And how about this? A 69% chance of being the #1 seed in the NFC. That is awesome. That's why I said you look at these first 9 weeks and you got to say massive success for this Eagles team. But Doc, I appreciate you, man. I will talk to you soon. I'll let you know about next week, but be good, brother. I appreciate your time.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Always good to get joined by Dr. Radcliff, man. I'm not kidding. He is maybe the smartest person I know. Went to Harvard undergrad and then Duke Medical School. And he actually can talk. He's actually not bad to talk to, because sometimes you get those guys who are so damn smart you can't even communicate. But he's a good dude. Really like Dr. Radcliff. Orthopedic surgeon, has offices in Cherry Hill and down in Summers Point, New Jersey at the Spinal Disc Center. So hopefully you don't need him. But if you're looking for a good orthopedic, he's your man. He is your man. So let's just talk.